Hey guys, hope your off season's going well. We got a little free baseball for you.
Oh yeah,
got the band back together for an extra episode here because it's not often you get to talk to, C-level important people. We talked to a lot of race car drivers, a lot of different folks on here, but not often.
C-level as in corporate, not ABC.
Yeah, no, he's in the A. He's in the top shelf of General Motors. Dr. Eric Warren's joining us later in the show, but wanted to catch up a little bit, see how everybody's been doing, see how you've been doing, see how I've been doing. Everything's pretty good on my end.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man, the off season. I put out that video that I was done with, like, leaving Penske and, like, the thank you and all. Man, it was crazy looking at that and going through all the wins. But everybody thought I was, like, retired. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not retiring. I'm just, like, not going to be a Penske anymore. So, no, I'm going to change tire. Most likely going to change tires still. It's going to be a different role. Have a couple opportunities that I'm working through. I don't know if it's going to be on Saturday or Sunday or what it's going to look like, but we got a lot of cool things going on behind the scenes with media stuff and trying to get more into that realm of maybe MRN or even broadcast stuff. I think you did the same thing last year with Amazon, so that's the next iteration of kind of where our careers are heading. So to do that, you have to be freed up as well.
Yeah, you can't, whether you're changing or driving, it's a full-time job trying to be at the tip of the spear. So it's cool you're able to have some of those opportunities come your way. We're having a lot of conversations what Pennies looks like too over the next couple months. We're trying to position ourselves and be more of a not a global, but just like a more motorsports show.
Yeah, I think we did that last year. There's only so many people you can talk to in NASCAR, man.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of them in here. Most of them assigned the wall, the garage door of fame. We've talked to a lot of champions, a lot of IndyCar guys, a lot of V8 supercar guys, and we want to keep doing more of that.
Yeah.
Sports car guys, F1 guys. We're going to start dipping our toe in those waters, I believe.
And it'll all be NASCAR-centric. We'll be NASCAR-centered and getting different opinions on the sport from – or like I really love like the Apex Hunter guys when they come in and just hearing, bouncing back and forth how their sport works, how our sport works, and what they think of our sport and what we think of theirs and the misconceptions that we have of each other. I think it just grows. The whole thing is just like racing has gotten to a weird spot a little bit where like there's fans of different things and
it's very niche
and it's not always like it doesn't always work together. So we'll try to bridge those gaps for people. And
something I know absolutely zero about is like sports cars. I don't know all the different classes, but I watched some of these clips from like the Roar Daytona, the testing. Those hypercars are nasty, bro.
Dude, I got to be around some of them when we were at Penske there, and they are super cool. It's so much different, though. Like, it's just a whole different world. I've learned a little bit more. They're a little bit closer now with the next-gen car. They're a little bit closer to a sports car, but there's still just a lot of stuff. But to your point, it seems foreign until you go in it and you're like, oh, this is kind of the same stuff we do. It's all kind of the same mentality, but then there's different things that they do better and things that if we integrated from the NASCAR side would be better for them. So I just, man, whether it be racing at Bowman Gray or going to an outlaw race or going quarter measure racing with my kid or going cup racing on Sundays, I just love all of it. And I like sharing that and sharing that with fans and also broadening our horizons to other fans that maybe don't watch. I think like with Larson, when we are able to talk to him, bring in the sprint car fans, and they can understand why NASCAR could be more appealing to them as well.
Well, if we can be a little bit of a bridge between all these different types of motorsports, that'd be down for that because there are some awesome personalities all over the board. One thought I had, we went to downtown Kannapolis the other night. They've got all the Christmas lights in Village Park, and they got the big carousel going. It's awesome. And you ever had these things when you go look at Christmas lights and they have these little shade, like little real cheap paper shades that you put on?
Yeah.
They gave these shades that turned all the bulbs into Santa faces.
Oh, that's so sick.
It was trippy, bro. I felt like I was on acid. Never did acid before, but I felt like I was on acid.
That must be what it's like. You ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
I have not seen
Oh, man. Yeah, Johnny Depp movie. That is...
You're getting me off my topic.
Keep going.
So you're looking around seeing nothing but like different sized Santa Clauses it's bizarre. Different colors, white, green, red, blue, Santa Clauses. And I don't know why I had this thought, but I had it. It's like that just a little piece of film changes your whole perception on what reality is. Of like, whatever situation you are in life, of like, I was thinking, like, what sort of filter am I looking at life through? Whether I'm positive, whether I'm negative, whether I'm prideful, whether I'm arrogant, whether I'm sad or depressed. Like, there's been so many seasons of life where I've had a type of filter on, and it's like trying to dictate and be aware of like, okay, how, like, what filter am I filtering my life with? Gratitude right now? I don't know. I'd like to think I am, but what sort of filter is on your lens right now?
Well, it's been, I don't know. My filter's changed, right? Being, changing jobs and changing any career position, it's done a lot. But like, it's like the old
come on
Eric Warren,
in,
Dr. Eric Warren here. Come sit right down.
Come on in, Doc.
But it's like what you make it. Like,
Life.
what's that?
What you make? It's Joe Dirt.
Home, where you make it.
Come on in. Hey,
Come
Dana.
sit right down. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. How's it going? Get right in the hot seat.
Right in. It's warm right now. We ain't warmed it up for you. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Yeah, it's good.
Let me give you a little intro first. My man's coming right from work, I presume.
That's right. Yeah.
Please help me. Welcome to the Noncents Garage. VP of Global Motorsports, General Motors, Dr. Eric Warren. Welcome to the Noncents Garage, buddy. Thanks for joining us, Stacking Pennies.
Yeah, thanks.
What's on your mind? How's it going?
Good. Just busy. You think end of the season, got through NASCAR, sports car, but still kind of into the F1 season. And as we're ramping up to F1, we're doing a lot of kind of rehearsals. So it never quite ends. And I'm going to Paris literally after I leave here for a meeting
Busy
over there.
fella.
So it's never nonstop.
Yeah,
F1 stuff?
No, it's sports car. It's in FIA Endurance Commission meeting.
So for the WEC stuff,
WEC, yeah.
We were literally just talking about how those hypercars are badass, dude.
Yeah, they're amazing.
When those things pull out of the pits in a hybrid or like an electric engine, and then they fire off V8, like that couldn't sound more American. It's
amazing, and honestly, the fan, how much that really resonates with the fans has been incredible. Because it's going from quiet to that V8 sound is just something unusual, and it's just awesome. I mean, when we were in Le Mans, everywhere we go, I mean, even at Goodwood, that was really the hit of to see that. And so it's those cars are really great. We were able to get some of the Cadillac sound and bring that to the series and the look of it. So for me, as I've been obviously heavily involved the last 3 years, it's pretty exciting. The cars are pretty complicated. In some ways, they're a little more complicated than F1 cars in some ways.
Really? In
some ways not. But it's exciting. It's the one series that we truly race brand against brand. So that in of itself.
And all you got for development goes into that, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into too much race car stuff, before you walked in, I was telling a story. So we went down to downtown Kannapolis this last week. And we're looking at Christmas lights with the kiddos running around. It's just chaos, right? And you can get these little glasses that turn all the Christmas lights into like little Santa faces. And it's a trip because your entire vision is filled with these Santa Claus faces. And I had this thought of like, what sort of filter am I seeing life through right now of like gratitude, thankfulness, overexertion? Right. What sort of filter is in Dr. Eric Warren's glasses right now?
I think for me, you have to stop sometimes and just say, wow, I can't believe the opportunity that I've gotten to be able to be exposed to all the different, things that I am. So, having the resources of GM behind Motorsports and, the resurgence, I hate to say the resurgence, but all the manufacturers are really seeing the return on investment with Motorsports. And, it's exciting. You get to see all these series, you're competing all the time, and there's not many people get the opportunity to be around 35 different race organizations and 90 plus drivers and all these series. So super thankful for the opportunity, but also super proud of GM and what we've built and all the people. And we're still, I keep saying we're just getting started. And so in that sense, you still kind of wake up every day with this kind of intensity that it's hard to set it down,
So when you talk about return on investment, like that's interesting to me because the old adage was always, right, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Right. But in the year 2025, right, going into 2026, what does a return on investment for a manufacturer in motorsports look like?
You know, what's exciting for us is, you know, now particularly with as much data that can be gathered and all the social media and different ways to measure kind of attraction of a fan to the product and what are they going to buy, like independent research, our own research, brand research. We know that, say in NASCAR, that NASCAR fans, even, you know, they're 25% or a reasonably high percentage more likely to buy a GM product than the general population, right? So you stop and you look at that and you say, okay, you know, you look at the number of fans, you look at, you know, you start to be able to look at that. And then, you know, as we got into bringing electrification into racing and trying to learn about the technology and obviously, you know, with EVs and different things, you know, it's kind of interesting. NASCAR, when we were looking at, you know, doing a test car and trying some different things, and we got a lot of data that showed motorsports fans are just more in tune with technology than the general population. And so they naturally gravitated towards EVs and things that you would, you know, I'll never forget the first time, and it's been 6 years, maybe 8 years, where it was like, okay, avid NASCAR fans, would they be more likely to buy an EV? And you would think
No.
it would be no, and I mean, it's off the charts.
No kidding.
Like, if
You're speaking about electric. He's since changed, but he was an EV hater.
Right.
And then he drove the electric car in Phoenix. Now he's a.
I'm a tale of two lives, because when EVs come in, there was the massive OEM push of like everything's going green by 2030, get with it or get gone, and I was like, that's a damn hill I'm gonna die on, buddy. And then I see that electric vehicle show up, I'm like, holy shit, that thing's kind of badass. I'm not gonna tell anybody I like it. Then I drove it at Phoenix,
Right.
and I was like, oh, this thing's pretty cool. Now I'm not sure I'm gonna have one plugged up to the front of the shop in the short order, but it's some amazing tech.
I tell you what is amazing, like I drive a Cadillac Lyric, or it depends on which one I'm driving at the time, but the acceleration of a car, like, you know, you assume you're brought up to think, okay, you hear the sound and that and you feel it, and that's the performance you associate it. But when you get in some of these cars and the performance is unmatched. I mean, on the highway, I've got a Cadillac Lyric that's a mid-size kind of
Drives for you.
SUV, and it's got like 600 plus horsepower four-wheel drive. I mean, you can maneuver in traffic, and eventually you're like, you disassociates performance, and then, and I don't even want to drive anything else. Like, even my wife drove a big SUV her whole life. I mean, the big Suburbans, the big things, and
You have kids?
I do, actually.
So I feel like you want to have a large car like that when you have kids, though. 'Cause you're
Yeah.
like, I need the most protection around them that I could get.
Also keep them far back away
Yeah,
from them as
right.
possible.
Yeah, so it's so I think it's an evolution, really. But I think what's exciting in return for us is, motorsports fans are just car lovers, right? They identify themselves with their vehicle. They're passionate about the brand, and then really that's what drives sales ultimately. And so, being in a lot of different series, you're in it for different reasons, different markets, different technologies that you're learning and transferring. And so, as we are successful in racing, we're seeing our sales be successful. I say it's because of that. We could be successful in racing because our sales are going up. So it's we do see tangible and track it, and there's a lot of data behind it.
So I want to talk a lot about F1 because it's just the cool thing, and I'm sure that it's taking a lot of your mental capacity right now. But that's not your first foray in F1. Right? You're the head of aerodynamics for US F1.
Right.
That kind of caught my eye earlier when I was reading up on it, and known you for a long time, and you were at Wall Trips, and you have ascended to essentially the top of general.
Can you just give us your quick background real quick?
Yeah.
So
Not to cut you off.
I'll try to make it quick. I've been in it almost 30 seasons now, 30 years. But so I, got a PhD aerospace engineering. I was working for NASA.
From where?
NC State.
Okay, so you're a North Carolina guy, local.
Born and raised. Probably both my families generations for like the late 1600s, early 1700s.
Amen
I'm probably
to that,
the most native North Carolinian that's ever existed.
Going to Paris, Nick.
Right. So, I ended up meeting a friend, Joseph, that was his name. He worked at Cranifus Haas, and he said, "Hey, come by and look at this shop." I saw him at a summer party, and we got talking about were there any aero people really in NASCAR at the time. This was 1996. And so I came by the shop, and long story short, I saw Michael Cranifus leaving, going to lunch. I literally ran into him walking out the door and talked to him a little bit, and he said, when you get ready to get out of school, you call me. And I had never seen, I mean, I grew up in North Carolina. Like, I played sports, all kind of competitive sports, and so I knew who Dale Earnhardt was, but I was never been to a race. So he's like, you got to come back, and so long story short, he convinced me to get into racing. So, 3 months after that, Roger Penske came in and kind of balled out, or whatever happened with the Haas part, became Penske Cranifus, and then like shortly I was the chief engineer of Penske Racing South and Penske Cranifus, and and at the time I started going over to England, and we were testing in a scale model tunnel in California with Stewart Grand Prix F1 team.
Holy cow.
And so I really started this kind of relationship with the Formula One, and obviously being an aerodynamicist, F1 is like the pure aero development, and so there was a natural interest there, and so that progressed and developed a lot of relationships. And then when I went to Aerodynamic Motorsports for a while, we had a partnership with McLaren, so I was going to test with McLaren, and so I've always had this like two sides of it, and a lot of people don't, even today as mature as a lot of the technologies are, a lot of people don't realize the level of engineering that goes on behind the scenes in NASCAR. And there are people that literally move from being the chief engineer in NASCAR to being the chief engineer in F1 the next year, and people just can't believe it. But so much of the technology is the same, and so I've always had this kind of, never worked directly for an F1 team, but have been really close to it for 28 years.
What is the challenge, besides logistics, of why like a US F1 team didn't work, and what are like the burdens and obstacles you guys are having to work through before you even touch a tire on the racetrack?
It's just resources. It certainly today, the right partners, the right people that are committed. You're competing against, again, like we do in other things, you're competing against the world's best racing motorsports manufacturers, and so situation. And what's great is GM, commitment of that, and then TWG and the resources behind that. So there's a lot of depth there, a lot of experience in professional sports, and just a lot of commitment. So that kind of provides a foundation. And with cost cap, it's controlled. It's a known entity, and so the challenge, of course, is we worked to get the entry for almost 3 years now, and so we basically committed to develop the car, work on the engine, and so we've been working on it for several years, but without having the rules and without having the entry. As hard as you want to go at it, there's still this little bit of hesitation. You're not able to recruit people because you're getting some people, but you're not gonna get the best people because they want to know you have the entry. And then we thought, okay, they drug on so long that it was really a year ago, almost exactly, at Vegas, and right before that we actually kind of got word that we were going to get the entry. And up to that point, it had been a little bit of a, just trying to prove that we as General Motors and Cadillac were committed, and this was not a short-term thing. And so we thought at that point in time it would be for 27. So we'd kind of like shifted gears a little bit, and then when it said nope, 26, it's like, okay, you look at the calendar.
Yeesh.
The challenge is, it's one thing. There hadn't been a team that started from nothing since probably Toyota 20 years ago. Haas, the rules were you could buy a lot of parts and a lot of things from Ferrari that can't do near as much now. You have to create a lot more of it. So you're basically building the facilities, the people, all the test equipment, designing all the parts, cars, building it, simulating it, and now you can't hit the racetrack at all. The first time the car will be together on the racetrack will be a filming day, middle of January, and then you're racing January 26th against people that have been doing it for 70 years.
So can you explain to just a Wall Stadium short track kid the cliff notes of why it's so challenging to even get the entry?
I think it's a little bit like you're moving into a neighborhood of
real big houses
of 10 houses and big houses, and they don't want you coming in and building a house that brings the value down of things. There's a lot of like proving that you can do it. There's been a lot of been a part of a failed effort, a lot of failed efforts, and so to kind of convince everyone at the level of in the sport's on the climb, right? So now it's not a situation like it was back in 2008, 2009, where they need to kind of expand, and it was a little bit like what value are you going to bring, and so it took a while to show the commitment, show the capability. There were multiple times we had the FIA and Formula One through our technical center to show, look, here's all the things that we're able to do and doing, and it, I just think got to a point where they were like, okay,
we trust these guys.
Yeah, they knew that we were committed and we had the right effort, but it certainly wasn't easy.
Something that I thought was super cool, and you kind of touched on it earlier, is you guys have been running simulated race weekends the last couple, and I was in there doing some truck sim, and I was like, there was a room of 30 engineers running through data. I'm like, what is that even? That's a great idea, by the way. What is that like? What are you doing?
Where do you even start?
What do you practice? Like what?
You kind of start. It started first, like so. Since you can't go test, you have to do simulation. And almost every form of racing now, you're doing simulators and simulation. So, it's not like a Formula One sim tool. You can just go buy it off the shelf. So we, because of we create simulation and we provide simulation to all the teams. The way the relationship's set up, we're kind of, as a service to the team, we're building that. And so we have the competency and the capabilities. We're like, okay, let's exercise the tools. Let's, look at the new rules. Let's make sure we can start to hit the big parameters, like, what aero balance do you need? What ride height behavior do you need? And all those things. So it kind of starts like that. And as it develops, when you get people on board, you're like, the tools that start to get really advanced, you're really trying to live. What's unique about F1 is there's a lot of data on the car. You can look at the aero performance on the car and say, okay, hey, we thought the downforce is going to be this and the balance is going to be this. You can look at enough instrumentation on the car to say, hey, it's off 30 counts, or the balance is off 1%. And so, it's a little bit unique in the sense of, say, in NASCAR, you don't have that. And so you are really trying to hit that balance perfect, and you're trying to do the correlation. And sometimes F1, it's like, hey, as soon as a car makes a lap, I'm going to know at that point in time. I just need to lower the thing a millimeter in the front or whatever. And so, the approach is different. And so you're really kind of exercising that. You want to know the experienced race engineers, what changes are they going to make? How does the tool need to work? The difference is there's 1,000 people, and so there's with 2 cars. So there's
1,000 people.
And I thought my payroll was
1,000 people.
But between Silverstone plant over there.
And right now we're up to about a little over 500, but when it's fully mature, there's 1,000. That doesn't count the engine side.
Now, what is Red Bull or Ferrari or
they're
McLaren?
Close to, they probably were more than that, because the cost cap regulations are changing a little bit. So everybody's having to kind of, not charge a quarter of a man hour, whatever. You're having to, the cost cap's really trying to contain. So I would say 1,000 is a pretty. Those are top teams. And so when you're looking at the number of people that can look at data, and there's 300 aerodynamicists, right?
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of people wanting to look at the data, analyze it, make the changes, and so it's a different approach. And so we have to exercise those tools because we can get the data off the simulator just like the car. So we run through all of those things to try to talk through intercom. All right, we simulate, hey, there's a brake problem. How does it get handled? Who talks? Who does what? What's their job? How do they communicate? There's just so many of those things you're just going through.
That's awesome.
When I think about building a car, I tell all the young kids now that we race with, like the old Dale Inman this stuff ain't always been this easy, right? But like right now, like we just pick our motor. If we're racing a Ford, you pick it up from Roush Ace. You know, you put it in the car. It's get the parts from SRI. When you're building an F1 program, like how much time, like where's the majority of your time? Is it in aerodynamics stuff? Is it you have to build the body, you have to build the tub, you have to, and then I think about like the engine has to be such a heavy lift too. Like I can't even imagine where to start. Like what's the biggest thing?
Well, this, and then you throw in the curveball that next year the rules are so different. No one has had an engine yet, right? No one has built a car to these rules.
Well, that's good for you guys, though, right?
Well, we hope.
Ferrari engine.
Okay. You know, so you know, which is really good. That was a key part of the entry, honestly, having that relationship and that working out. You know that they're going to be competitive, and you know the engine program takes a long time, and even the rules. You know, you have to. We couldn't have entered earlier than a certain date anyway, and so we were going to have to race with another engine. But you know, getting racing, getting the team going, getting the process of building the car. But you know, so you start with like, okay, what's the rules? Like, what does the FIA think the car parameters are going to be? And then you start building that up, doing the CFD work. It's mostly all CFD, and then you know we've been in the Toyota wind tunnel in Cologne for a little over a year.
Full scale car.
It's a 60% is the limit. You can't test a full scale car.
It's so crazy how they build them. Like I was at Penske for a long time, and you were talking about the scale model, and like now I think it's easier because you can print stuff.
Yeah, it's all printed.
But like looking at the bodies and the scale models that they'd build on the old Cup cars to like figure out what size the fender needed to be. So what a scale model is, you take the car and you make the cars at Penske were about the size of this table, maybe 40%, a little bigger.
40% what they were. Yeah.
So they would literally take everything, shrink
English
it down,
wheel.
and build the same car, just the miniature version, and bring it to the scale tunnel in Mooresville.
Yep.
And I always thought that was so interesting. And I think about how you guys do it now. Like, yeah, just go RP a piece for me and throw the wing on and see how it goes. But 20 years ago, it had to be so much more challenging.
It was challenging. It was fun because you could do a lot more in NASCAR at the time. We were going, like I said, in 1987. We were scale model testing in California. I mean, you could move the frame rails. You could
keep moving the tail over. Like, oh, better.
I'll never forget the first time we did right side tailpipes. Like, and you know,
what do right side tailpipes relative to left side do?
Yeah, you know, when you know the air obviously comes in the front of the car, and you know, depending upon where it exits, that curvature of the air kind of, you know, imparts a force the opposite way. You know, you think about when you run your hand, you know, out the window, the air moving around kind of pushes your hand back. So when it comes out the right side, it's pushing the car left. And so, you know, you're getting that kind of side force to help you corner more. And, you know, the first couple of times we did that, and then there were just so many great things that, as an aerodynamicist, you would introduce into it. And you're like, hey, how about we run really stiff in the back? And I remember we used to have an argument, and never forget, Rusty, we had a big discussion. It's like, there's no way at Loudon that you can run 500-pound springs. Something's wrong. And it's like, no, you know, look, it's, you know, and so just being a part of that was really exciting. And that you see that in F1 now because the rules now are new, and like you have a lot of freedom on what shapes to change and all of that. And so just looking at the complexity of that, and these tunnels are so advanced. You're doing all the CFD simulation work, and you go in the tunnel, and there's all this robotic, you know, looking at the air behind the tire, getting the whole, you know, all the way across the car. What's the air doing? You compare it against computation, like real time, and it's just, you know,
incredible stuff.
Incredible.
I love, and you might know this name, but I was in the aero group at Stuart Haas 2011, 2012, Tony, and we'd go to, when at the Haas owned Windshear, so we'd have a date every Thursday, 12-hour shift, and then we'd do all of our bodies and race cars at Aerodyne. So I spent a lot of time in the tunnel, but I spent a lot of time with Scott Robinette. It was so funny because Scott Robinette is one of the guys that's been in the sport forever. Old school guy. He was
with
banjo guy with you. Carried tires for Earnhardt, just like won everything. But he'd sit in the tunnel, and he'd be like, that didn't work. This ain't gonna work. And I'd be like, what? He's like, I did this at Lockheed Martin in 1998 and did the same stuff. He said, and he would just say, this stuff's a circle, man. The same stuff comes back up every 10 years. Yeah. Like, do you see that when you go into F1, like trends of like, oh, I've seen that before, kind of the NASCAR side, or is it a completely new world?
No, I think the people that are ultra successful, you look at Adrian Newey and the people that just won championships, the reason they're that successful is they've learned why something happened, right? It's not just, okay, I've seen that shape change before. They understand the car completely and how, you know, what the cause and effect relationships are. And so certain people can piece those things together and certain people can't. And I think, you know, those are the ones that are, you know, no matter where they go, they're going to be successful. But you certainly see a lot of things, and I find myself being that person that it's like, you know, what do you mean you can't do that? We used to do that all the time. You know, and somebody's telling you that it doesn't make any difference. You're like, we run 15 races doing that.
Yeah. And is there anything that would just be like an obvious oversight from like something you did on a NASCAR in 2004 that might apply to a F1 car in 2025?
There's things all the time. I mean, we have lots of little conversations and things that you're chasing different boundary layer things as an aerodynamicist. You know, there's still certain things that are on a bluff body car that you understand how the actual fluid mechanics works, that, you know, that does apply, right? Some of it is just when you see it, being able to understand it quickly and understand how all things come together. But yeah, they're definitely things. I think now a lot of it is kind of the analysis techniques and the mathematical methods and all the things that are direct applications and how you solve certain things. You know, we're doing some things that you know, the way we do some simulation methods that even they haven't done. And so we're starting to have some good dialogue to tire models, and, you know, NASCAR spends a lot of time making sure the car on the setup plate statically, like they can correlate every single, you took a coordinate measure machine and measured what is the wheel, this exact camber down to 2 digits, you know, to get all that right. They don't quite do that as the same, because again, the way they change the car and the data that they have when they race is different. But bringing those two together, there's definitely some learnings.
Some redneck engineering.
I'm laughing at him saying the people that actually understand why it works, because I am like we are both typical short track kids. Like, that was better. We need more.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you
don't know why.
More rear skirt, more flare it more, like that. But we don't know why it works. We just know it does. So we give me more of that. But being in North Carolina, and with the recent changes with, you know, NASCAR going to a single source supplier on cars, it has freed up a lot of good guys that worked in, you know, on race teams forever. Is that a massive advantage for you guys when you're in the hiring process?
You know, I think it's an advantage for finding people that are skilled, because you still, when you're going to do a scale model, you still need fabricators, you still need people with skills and racing experience. And to be honest, it's that kind of elite performance mindset where you're like, you come in every day, you can't stand losing, you can't stand not figuring something out. If we're doing a submission of a new wet car, if we get, you know, if we leave 2 counts there, they're pissed off, you know, that it's hard to grow that, you know. And so I think all of those, I haven't met many people that were on the teams that aren't in either still something in the industry or, you know, like us at GM Defense, that we're, you know, really growing. I mean, you walk through GM Defense and half of them are people that worked on race teams, because it's just the level of skill is high.
My favorite's walking in there and seeing Tony Gibson. He's the best. But so your guys' headquarters is on the Hendrick campus, like kind of right next to it?
Outside of it, you know, there's a misconception. I remember Denny said something one time about Hendrick. It's Hendrick. It's like, no, it's not. That's GM. It's outside of.
It's next.
It's next to it.
There's a fence in between.
Yeah, you know, Rick obviously was been Chevy, his whole career, and we always wanted to have a technical center like what we have at Warren, and the Warren Technical Center is a big, huge campus. And so when we decided we were going to build one, he kept putting down offers for the land, and we couldn't refuse. And so you know, and really what happened with Rick and Richard and Chip at the time, and how we kind of built the whole thing up about working together, this Team Chevy concept. He's been such a supporter of what we've done, but it's grown. I thought when we built it was like 170,000 square feet, and we had this whole area that was an expansion area.
Yeah, now it's full probably.
1 year in, it's totally packed.
My favorite is that Harry Hyde's building still in the middle.
Right, yeah.
It's like you see kind of where it came from. I want to give you a chance to defend yourself, because we were just watching a video when we came in here, switching to the NASCAR side. There are some fans that are irate about the Chevrolet body.
Sure.
Did you work through that or work on that at all? And is there like what?
I'm curious the process that goes.
What's the process, and does the resources that go into the Cadillac F1 team, does that hold you back from redesigning fully the Camaro body and just tweaking on it?
No, it doesn't hold us back, actually. At the end of the day, as we add series, we look at it and add resources so that it's complementary, not thinning out what we're being successful in. We've been committed to NASCAR from the beginning, right? And you look at the number of races we're winning and the fans that we have and our success. Chevrolet has been a big part of NASCAR and will always be.
44
manufacturer
titles. I was like, I didn't know they've been counting manufacturer titles for that long. That's crazy.
Yeah, and 5 in a row. And so the one thing that by being such long partners with NASCAR is we kind of look at we're able to show them kind of our where we've been, where we're going, what we're doing, and so they've been along that journey with us. Kind of can look at the whole thing. In this car, we really did it in 21, like when we first started into the submission of the next gen car, and so it got kind of set as the kind of the target car, and then basically Ford and Toyota were able to do a new car. We did some cooling adjustments in 23, but for the most part it's been kind of static. And so as you looked at overall, and we learned a lot from our performance packages with the Z06 Camaro, Corvette, and all the different things that there's a lot of Camaro owners out there and a lot of passionate Chevy fans, and and it's as much about the brand as it is that we've raced 14 different nameplates over the years, and so Chevrolet and NASCAR and all of that, it's a journey that we've done that with them, and it was an opportunity for us to kind of create a performance package that can turn the car basically in the same aerodynamics as the Camaro ZL1 1LE, which is kind of a track capable car. And so there was a lot of performance things that truly give the Camaro ZL1 owners a big step in performance, and I'm involved in that at a pretty high level,
I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a NASCAR guy at heart,
Right.
for sure. And I wanted to almost flip it around a little bit. You talk about moving into the to the gated mansion, and you're the new guy on the block. If you turn the tide around, there's 3 big mansions in our gated neighborhood on the NASCAR side,
Right.
and it's hard. Seems like it's a very hard barrier to cross for a new OEM to come join the sport. With the tech center that all the between Ford and Toyota and yourself have, what sort of investment and tools and scale and what sort of hurdles does a Dodge or the next OEM coming in, or has any interest coming in, that they can look at that might entertain them to come in? Like what sort of what is that about?
It's going to be very similar to us coming into Formula One or WEC. Us racing into that and the racing against those teams. Fortunately, like for Ram and Dodge, they've been in the sport, and there are a few people still there. That changes in the things that raced, and you got to get talent. You got to get people that understand it. The scary thing about it is how quick technology is changing. In some ways you can have a little bit of an advantage if you do it right, and it's the commitment and really understanding what's the most important thing first, right? I mean, obviously getting through the submission process, getting a good car, getting some teams that have some experience and some drivers. That's experience and knowing kind of where to focus on. But I think, us as Ford, Toyota, and ourselves, we wanted another OEM. We want other OEMs because it helps, bring interest in the sport, brings a broader fan base, and so we've been supported all along. It's in some ways we want to help, some ways we don't. Right?
We like our own people.
Yeah,
man.
There's a lot, dude. I'm excited. You talked about Goodwood earlier, and I love watching the technology, but I also love when they just roll out, and you got to like it a little bit too when they just roll out like an old Monte Carlo and rip it up there. Everybody goes crazy for it. I think that there's a certain desire for that. There's just I don't know, like a certain romance of like old cup cars and old cars in general. What you've been to Goodwood a couple times?
Okay, I went this year and it was amazing.
What is your favorite car there? Like the new, old, like what is your favorite one to watch go?
This year they had it was the 75th anniversary of F1, so they had every 2 or 3 F1 cars from every year, and all the living drivers that drove them were there. Awesome. It was incredible.
When you look at those cars and you look at technology now, especially on the other side of this wall is the seat shop where they build all the cars. We had one at Penske, one of Mark Donohue's cars, and I'm like, I don't know how anybody's alive.
Yeah, right.
It was so crazy, but to watch that and to see how raw it was is so impressive, and to see where we've come.
Yeah, you look at some of those cars, and I think prior to, there's kind of 3, let's call it 3 kind of, not generations of race cars, but early on it was the engine, and you see a lot of those early cars, the Silver Arrows, and a lot of the ones that are kind of this beautiful in their own way, right? And you look at all of a sudden the Arrow hits it, and then all of a sudden to see the progression from the Chaparral to all of a sudden these ground effect cars, and look at those early cars to see the shapes of those, and how you're like, man, this must have been just phenomenal to see the step in performance. And as you say, they're just sitting there exposed, and so it's unbelievable.
It's the same with Indy cars too. When you look at the Indy cars, you're like, whoa, this is gonna. And then to see the leaps and the steps that they've it's like one big step and then the next thing.
Well, I think it's I want to pick his brain a little bit too on it. Just the steps from a cup car from 1994 to 99, 2001.
Huge difference.
Massive difference.
Yeah.
What was was there a couple things? What was the trend that everybody starts looking at each other like, oh, you need to get on with this program?
Yeah, I think there are a couple big things when people really started understanding just how important the underbody was, right? I mean, I was in multiple arguments about the underbody doesn't matter. There have been multiple times where there was one class, I won't say the names because it was, but we had an argument over, hey, doesn't matter. So we're like, okay, we'll build 2 cars. It's like, I'll build one, you build one. And we'll go.
Yep.
And we went to Nashville to a test, and the first lap, Kevin Harvard was driving. He said, put that other car on jack stands.
I don't want to drive that one anymore.
And I think really when the pitch of the car, when it really, the stiffness of the front, and really getting the car low in the front and really controlling the front ride height and all that, really got into bigger front sway bars. When you started going from a 5/8 front bar to a 2-inch front bar, and all of a sudden, there's some times that I'll never forget, it was Travis Carter's team at Indy, end up with these big diameter shock shafts, and looking at all of that, and we had some incredibly innovative dampers, during those years that were raising the car up as you go around the track, and just, it just took off on how important the attitude was, and it really became, and everybody went overboard a little bit, and we got into coal binding and all that, where you were like, okay, forget the suspension, let's just run on solid on the springs, and and there's so all that progression, just seeing it change, and the shapes of the car, and everybody figured out, okay, side force and yaw moment and all that, that just got the cars all twisted up. And I think a lot of people don't really understand what brought the next gen car on was we were literally designing cars that would flex, 1.5 inches as they went in the corner. The entire car would bend and hold the splitter down to 20 thou around the corner, and then at the end of the race it was complete junk, had to be trashed. And so there were $350,000 of
For one race.
for cost in a car that you were just throwing away. And so it just it had gone. You couldn't put the genie back in the bottle.
I'll never forget going when Everham. I was at Roush and I was a fabricator, and when Everham merged with Roush there, the first 9 cars showed up, and someone walked up to the left front splitter and picked it up because they called it nose rate, like because you hit the splitter on the track and it just pushed, and it was like, oh boy, they're playing chess and we're playing checkers. But like, we've all been to tests, and I think the famous Ray Everham with T-Rex when they were like when they used to get all the practice time and all the testing time, he's like, pull that thing out and do this, and he's like, I ran a lap, and they were like, no, it's a second faster. Is there a good testing story that you have, almost like that Harvick one? Is your favorite one where you were like, whoa, we found something there?
I would say probably the right side tailpipe one early on. We did test at Darlington, and one time we when I was at Penske there, we would test Homestead like every weekend because like it was Roger on the track, and so we were down there all the time.
He's got the yacht down there.
Really getting into raising the fuel cell, and like, okay, we're going to take all the fuel and raise it up a couple inches, and it was like, no way is that better. It's like, trust me, it's better. And so those are great moments, but there's so many good test moments. We used to have to run 10 laps as part of the submission process for NASCAR to certify the car, and you think it's going to take all day, and they run give you an average time of the Atlanta race. You have to go to Atlanta, and so Bill Elliott, never forget, we went to Atlanta to do one of the years, and so on the warm up, it was me, and I can't remember if I think it was Gary Nelson, might have been John Dart, might have been there. We were up on the truck, and you're flying down there, and you think you're going to be there for 2 days, and we said to Bill's like, hey, just go out and
get the oil
run
hot.
a couple of laps, and about 3 laps in, I was like, just keep going a little bit. And literally on lap 10, I looked and said, is that good enough? And they were like, and came on me, I said, all right, we're done. It's over.
Load it up. Oh man, yeah, I was on the test teams and stuff, and like, those are the best stories, but no one ever knows them like that. The race is all cool and everything, but that type of stuff with the guys finding things and just trying stuff and being like, whoa, that worked. And to your point, you're way different than us. We're like, it's gonna work, but we're like, whoa, that worked. Why did that work?
There's a lot of times you don't know, right? You see things, and speedway testing, you would go and just constantly flog on the car for, you're chasing the wind, and it's like a tenth of a second, and then you go, never forget, throttle angle, the butterflies, adjust that a little bit, and it was like 3/4 of a second, like instant lap, and you're like, what am I doing over here?
Yeah, and you're sitting there whittling a quarter panel. Oh man,
I'm interested in 3 questions, man. I don't know what you've worked up for that, but
our normal 3 questions that we ask all of our guests, most of them are drivers, but it's not often we get to talk to somebody that worked on so much stuff. So the question is, if you had to drive one car and one racetrack the rest of your life, what do you go with?
Oh man, I probably right now would take the Corvette 01X.
Oh, that's a bad unit.
And drive it around Spa.
Yeah, that is such a. Have you seen that car?
Yes, but I'm not familiar with Spa and all that. Like,
everybody always asks me like, okay, what's your favorite racetrack? And forever's Darlington, because it's just such the character of it, and being fairly southern, as you can tell from my accent, just the environment, and then of course there were periods of time, particularly working with Rusty there with Bristol, where it's just a lot of things going on. But first time I play golf, and the first time if you ever get a chance to go to Augusta, you watch it on TV all the time, and you go there and you're like, you can't believe the elevation change. And
have you played it?
I have not.
Okay.
I definitely, that's on my bucket list. I definitely want to.
I don't know if I could bring enough balls with me.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go through 100.
But you look at it and you're standing there and you're like, it's unbelievable. And so when you watch races at Spa and you see the Eau Rouge and it's the exact same moment. You're going there and you're looking at the pavement and the with the way the curbing's painted and just the level of the track, and you're standing in Eau Rouge, it looks like you're in a video game. And you're like looking up at the hill, and then, I've gotten where I used to never really do it. I like to walk the track now, a lot of these tracks, because you just don't get a feel for it, because I'm not out there in practice, and that's a pretty incredible place.
For the longest time, I told people, like, I've been to all these racetracks, I've never seen the backstretch of 3/4 of
Right,
it. I've
right.
only seen pit road and the front
Garage
stretch and everything
area.
on just TV, but like, we are super good. Myself, I have missed like 5 cup races in 20 years, so I've just been doing this, but broadening my horizons, like I'm being a motorsports fan, I know that no matter how long you work in the sport, there's still points and times where you look up and you're like, ooh, this is cool. Are there a couple of races, like Indianapolis 500 comes to mind?
First time I went to
Mans.
Indy 500, first time I went to Le Mans was when I took on the new role of all the series. I'd never been to Indy, right? Because I'm at the Coca-Cola 600,
Yeah.
or wherever. And so the start of the Indy 500 is probably the best racing experience in the world. It is just hard to describe that. I got to go the first time and sit in this convertible Camaro, and we were pacing the start of the race, and so there were like 6 cars.
It's a hell of an introduction.
And
to Indy 500.
I got my phone up and I'm filming, and literally the field is getting ready to take the green behind you, and we're doing 150 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here I am. I'm gonna drop my phone out, and half the Chevy cars are gonna wreck in the first corner, and but just amazing. I mean, going around the corner and looking at that's an absolute must do. Le Mans is also a must go to, and it's just the history of it, and again walking the track, and it's the number of fans there and all that. It's just like big times at the Brickyard with NASCAR when it was like 400,000 fans there. It's an experience on its own.
Have you been to Monaco yet?
Have not.
Yeah. My favorite F1 track is that Dutch track.
Yeah,
They run
Zandvoort.
the Pennies,
Zandvoort,
and
yeah.
that
Yeah.
place is
That
sweet.
place is sick.
Yeah.
They wreck some stuff there too, which
That's
I
why
like to
it's
see.
it's like it's like the short track.
Yeah.
It's like their short track for
Yeah,
sure.
I honestly love Watkins Glen. And,
Yeah, same.
it's just once a summer and it's beautiful.
Yep.
There was
Upstate New York there.
something romantic about Watkins Glen
It
and
is.
Sonoma when it was just the 2
Yeah,
races.
mhm.
It was like you really wanted to win. You only got 2 shots at it. Now there's 6, and
Right.
it's just different.
Yeah.
And now Shane just kicks everybody's butt. Thanks for bringing him over. But it is there was I agree with you on that. Like Watkins Glen was just special.
Yeah, and being the NASCAR side, a lot of people didn't love road racing. It took a while for everybody to really put the effort in and really start to be good at it. And but you look back at all the good Watkins Glen have been just a ton of like great races, and it's just a great environment, great place. I would say I've changed over the years because they pave it, they'll change the track. Bristol pre.
Yep.
All that, and then
The bus stop's always been cool though.
yeah.
Until you smash your head on the headrest
Yeah.
about 40 times.
Right. You don't have to hit the curbs.
Now you don't.
go
It's
around
slower if you go around them. Last question, buddy. I appreciate the time here. So if I had the Men in Black pen and I got to zap all your racing memories, but you only got to keep one, what do you keep?
I still think winning the Brickyard for the first time with Bill Elliott in 2002 was really special. It was really interesting. We had worked on it was Kenny Francis was there, and we had tested kind of really probably got ahead of the jacking and the spindles and that really early, and we had this big fan on the engine creating downforce, and we were like, I think 95 horsepower on the chassis dyno after we won off, but we won the race because we just got through the corner so good, and Bill was so good there. I mean, that was really special, that race. That one was probably one I guess one of the few. I don't have that many racing pictures at home. That I have that.
You got that one. The wife let you keep that one in the
Yeah.
house.
How much did Ray circle that race? Did Abraham? Because I've read his book,
Yeah.
And I remember working with Tony and being like, okay, we're going to start working on Indy and Richmond. Like those are, we got to take those cars and separate them. Like, when did you start working on the Indianapolis car, the Brickyard car?
You know, that was a super important race for him. I mean, Ray was so intense and probably, you know, still to me the most competitive person I've ever worked with, and learned a lot. You know, we had a lot of battles, you know, and but the level of detail he would get out of the cars and just the commitment was incredible. You know, the funny story about that particular race, and I'm sure he talked about it, but I haven't read the book, you know, because I lived it. But we, Ray and I were actually crew chiefing Jeremy's car. And so we were actually on the other car. And then in practice, you know, we were off and we changed the camber like a lot, and you know, it either we fell out of it or what. And so what I won't ever forget is when Bill won, two things. One, I think Bill and Ray bet that if Bill won that he would have to sell Bill his plane. There was a plane involved somewhere, right? And but I'll never forget us walking from the other pit box down to just winning the Brickyard, how mad we were. What all had happened and was going on.
Yeah.
But
yeah, in-house rivalry.
It was that was a big one.
That's cool, man. What are some whiteboard goals for the F1 car? What would be next year? What would be considered a success?
You know, I want us to prove that we belong there. And, you know, and that's, you know, there's a lot of different ways to go about saying that. You know, you saying, okay, you know, earn points. You know, you don't want to be falling out of races. We want to be reliable. You know, I think to prove that we can build a car that you don't want to say, you know, I don't want to be last, because that's definitely not the target. But to earn the respect of the competitors and our own team, you got to get data, get a baseline, but just really to demonstrate that this is no small, you know, there's no finish line, we say, for us. Like, this is not a short-term thing. We know that it's going to be about how you develop and how you climb, but it's really just proving you belong.
Well, I have a lot of faith in that. You and the group and the fellas can do it.
We are excited to watch, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the time, Eric.
Yeah, no problem.
Good luck to you guys. Safe travels, Paris. Yeah. Thanks for coming to Stacking Pennies.
Yeah, no problem. Sounds good.
Well, there you had it.
He's way smarter than us, buddy.
Well, I mean, the bar's pretty low to begin with, but that's a smart fella.
It is, dude. It's cool, though, because he's been around a lot of the same people like that I worked with, and just getting in and understand. Like, I learned stuff that I could probably apply to my racing just by listening to that, and processes, just by understanding how guys like that think. I just like, no matter what it is, no matter where you came from, I just get along with people who like to make race cars go fast. Amen. A couple shout-outs. I saw something really cool. I wanted to shout out Janie and SVG for Trackhouse going back to the 97, man. That's what's so great about racing, to see his reaction to read his dad's note. Like, just crying to how much a number matters to somebody. Well, I put a really tweet out, too. It's like, kudos to Justin, because I've always thought this. I've been under the opinion where I appreciate when an F1 driver comes in, that is their number for their whole career. Yeah. If it's not available when you come in, you can change it if somebody leaves that has your number or whatever, or if it's retired, who knows. But, like, sure, do I understand the 24 is the 24 and the 48 is the 48 and the 3 is the 3? But, like, I would, in my opinion, if I'm a NASCAR owner, I would keep a specific font style and change the number to whatever my driver, if he has some equity in a number, that would be. So that, I think that's ultimately what Justin did with the 97 and 88. If he's starting Zilich's legacy in the 88 with the Xfinity team last year and carrying that over into Sundays, like, that's pretty cool. It's cool. Numbers are important for sure. I always sticks in my head, and I saw Suarez the other day. I'm excited for him next year. But when you went, we're starting the Spire deal, and I wanted a single-digit number because it's easy to promote. Yeah. I was like, man, that is next-level thinking. I had Penny Stacker. Who'd you have? A couple of them. I talked to my daughter was cheerleading at a 5th-grade basketball game. One of the coaches was like, hey, man, love the podcast. I didn't get his name, but then I went down to cheer my buddy Greg from Off Axis in the Charlotte marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Went down there and we like held up signs. Go Greg when he came by. 26.2 miles.
Oh,
not.
He could have it.
Does not look like fun, but we were there for him. It makes me happy to like. It's weird, man. Like go down there, and it like brings me joy to see everybody cheering people on. Like Harper just stood there and like high-fived everybody, and there's like so much good, positive energy. Like energy's a thing, and I was like, man, I don't ever want to run this marathon, but I like coming here and cheering these guys on because it makes me feel good, and everybody's kind of rallying behind you, and you see like people carrying people across the line, and I'm like, man, you guys paid for this torture.
Chose it.
Braxton Jenks, fellow from Raleigh, he came up and he's like, hey man, love the podcast. It's crazy seeing you here. So that's my penny stacker. Thanks for always saying hey when we're out and about, man. It's
means
cool
a
to meet
lot.
people.
Also, it's a tough week for the penny itself.
Penny's all gone.
It's all gone.
We're gonna have
man.
to go to nickel stacking.
Man, I've had a lot of people reach out, hey man, what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna stack nickels? You gonna stack no, we're gonna keep stacking
It's a
pennies.
metaphor, people.
It's a metaphor. Started with a metaphor, it's gonna remain a metaphor. But now pennies might be worth more. I got a couple jars of it here, got some on the floor in the Noncents Garage. We will always and forever be stacking pennies.
Yeah. What's coming up for you?
I don't know. I'm going to F1 this week.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm going to Puerto Rico. There's no racing down there, but
Flying Friday.
I'm racing December 18th, 19th, 20th, Fort Wayne, Indiana, the Rumble, and then being my indoor game in my TQ Midget, Allentown, second weekend of January, and then the last weekend of January, same weekend as the Clash. Is a bummer.
Yeah.
But we'll be in Atlantic City with the Gamblers Classic. So come check us out indoors, man. That's such a great time. It's my favorite time of year. And I just ran Caraway, ran good, but had a hole in the oil line. Man, those Tour Modifieds are a handful, buddy.
I mean, they'll make your babies born naked.
Shout out to Levi for winning the pedal car race.
Yeah. That was
Late
funny.
entry.
Late entry. Literally, as we walked through the gates, they were calling out entries for the pedal car race, and he got in there, and not surprising, he can ride a bike almost as fast as me. Like when we've been going mountain biking every other week, and he's getting to the point where it's like, oh, like he can ride as fast as I can.
Nice.
And I am pretty fast on a bike. My 5-year-old is almost as fast as I am now. So yeah, once he figured out the pedal car race, he was patter in the wind, buddy.
Hey, I was a little. So they have for context, at Caraway North-South Shootout, which is the namesake is after John Blewett III, who I grew up working for, passed away in a race car. They have the John Blewett III Memorial North-South Shootout. Went there. I was going to race my car's 602 modified blue motor.
Mm-hmm.
4 laps in practice. That was brutal.
So,
and then I ran the tour car for my buddy Scott Davis and Justin Gumley. We ran well all race, but had an early exit with like 20 to go. But one thing they've always done there is they have all these pedal cars painted like old modifieds. So that's what Levi was in. And I was a little deterred by Matt Hirschman. His daughter was racing, and he gave her a push to start. So damn, Matt Hirschman's cheating.
Whatever it takes. Maybe he's working in the grid. There's no rules. I didn't read the rule book before the pedal car race.
Yep.
But
That's
yeah.
it. I hope you guys have a great winter.
I hope you guys have a great winter too. Who knows if we can get somebody else lined up, we might fire up a bonus episode. We'll see. Nothing else planned until next year. So we got to make sure you guys keep stacking pennies, keep doing those details right in your life, and keep following us on social media. Might be putting up some carbon fiber content coming up here pretty soon. But excited about that. Developing the seat, developing some other stuff.
Cool.
A real life business owner, man.
That's it.
Stacking Pennies Composites.
Welcome to the club.
I don't know if I like it.
Nope, it sucks.
Might have to go back to race car driving.
Sucks. Cool. See ya.
Bye.